think I'm.
Good evening, everyone. I believe we're live right now. We just watched the countdown. I'm Nancy Sarah, Superintendent of Schools here in New Britain. Thank you so much for joining this today. We hope it's informative. It's going to be a time where we'll be answering some questions we think you might have and have an opportunity to ask some questions throughout our comment or through the private chat or through the chat. I'm going to turn it over now to Tracy Madden-Hennessy. She is our moderator for this evening, and we'll introduce our panelists. Go ahead, Tracy.
Thanks, Nancy, and good evening, everyone. My name is Tracy Madden-Hennessy. I'm Executive Director of the YWCA, and welcome to tonight's Real Talk with Community Partners, really a conversation with the school district and some community providers who are partnering with the school district during the school day. So I'd like to introduce our panelists for this evening. In addition to Nancy, James, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is James Jones. I'm the Executive Director of the Boys and Girls Club and also the Dean at Slade Middle School.
And Marlo, how about introducing yourself?
Hi, I'm Marlo Grappone. I'm the Executive Director of HRA of New Britain, which is New Britain's Community Action Agency.
And Paulette.
Paulette Fox. I'm the Executive Director of OIC, and probably most of you I've had in my Summer Youth Employment Program.
So welcome, everyone. As you can see, we have some very experienced and excellent community providers joining us tonight. And now that we've introduced ourselves, I'm going to ask Marlo and Paulette, can you talk a little bit about where you are now compared to where you were when there was planning for the reopening of the schools during the summer, and what's going on in your agencies and what have you learned during this time? Do you want to start, Paulette?
Well, you probably going with the older person, and that's okay. But when on June 1st, we reopened and we ran a 9 weeks Summer Youth Employment and Learning Program on site at OIC with 66 young adults between the ages of 14 to 18. And we also had a parent orientation. And what we are encouraging and what I feel the excitement is we stress the fact that if you are going to be a successful employee, you need education. You need to make sure that you're going to school every day and that you're doing everything that you need to do. And we really encourage the parents and all of our youth, because part of our summer youth was also virtual. So they had to log in at certain times. And one of the things we told them, you can't look like you just rolled out of bed. You want to look professional. You want to comb your hair. You want to wash your face. You want to brush your teeth. And they did a wonderful job, but they were also getting paid. Now that we're back in the school year, it is our job to be supportive of the school district to let the parents know you got to wake your young person up. They've got to look appropriate and ready to learn.
All right.
Marlo.
Absolutely. I agree with everything that Paulette shared. And so HRA was also a summer youth employment provider along with OIC and a couple of other community partners, right? And so for our lessons learned with regard to the summer is that we learned that our students are resourceful. New Britain students are resourceful if they're given the right supports. You know, if they're offered the opportunity, if they're given the resources that they need in order to access the programming. So we were able to provide support to those students that didn't have the technology available. And we had staff that were really capable of providing them the support so that they could engage in the programming that we offered, which the majority of our programming was done virtually. We did have some programming that was done on site, and our summer youth employment staff worked diligently to have every youth engaged, just as our partners did. So we took it very seriously, and we hope that the experience during the summer months helped our participants to then cross over into the virtual experience that they're having in the school system. We believe that our involvement with them in the summer was an introduction to what they were to do when they were re-entering the school system, really helping them to relate virtually, helping them to deliver products. You know, their work was being delivered virtually to us on a weekly basis. And so I think that we really had a good role in that we were able to help them to transition from being in person to being virtual.
I know the YWCA has been a virtual provider since the beginning of the school year for our kindergarten through fifth grade population. And thanks to the school system, we increased our bandwidth, and our teachers are acting as facilitators so that regardless of the cohort and on Wednesdays, children can be at the Y and social distance. The children are very good, even though they're young. And this goes for our preschool children too. I'm sure, Marlo, you're seeing that as well. They're very good at wearing masks.
Oh, absolutely. Surprisingly, we're pleasantly surprised by the children and the parents, in fact, dealing with the arrivals and the pickups and, all of the protocols that we had to put in place in order to ensure safety. Families have really been gracious about everything that we've been putting in place in order to ensure that we can accept their children and take care of them. And the children are also, even though they're so young, they're adhering to playing with their own toys and, wearing their masks throughout the day. And, it's something that we're all adapting and adjusting constantly. So, for the months to come, we will appreciate the continued support of the families in reiterating with their children, the importance of how they need to follow the protocols for their own safety and health.
And you really have to be a partner with families because the families parents are often the ones receiving information from the school district. And that's something we had to work through with the school district as well in terms of homework and schoolwork and that kind of thing. So in terms of the programming, James, what have you seen as some of the biggest challenges, and how can families overcome those challenges during this remote learning time?
What I see is a lot of our students are having issues with completing assignments, and I think there needs to be a little breakdown. And as Paulette was talking about, a sense of routine. I think our kids need to get up at a regular time, go to bed at a regular time, and be focused on their academics. A lot of our kids are hitting submit without completing assignments, and they'll show their parent that the assignment was done, but then the assignment's not, and the parent can't really go in and check because they've hit submit and it's already been sent to the teacher. But a lot of students are sending in assignments that are not completed. So I think parents need to back that up with checking their PowerSchool account, because when we pull up a student's PowerSchool account, we can take note of how many times a parent has logged on to check their academic grades, and it'll tell us how many times those parents have logged on. And if we're logging on more than the parents, that's a problem in itself. So I think every parent needs to understand that their child has access to PowerSchool. They know how to log on to their account. So if the parent doesn't know how to log on, their children know how to log on, and they should at least check their PowerSchool account once a day. Just like you check your email or your social media, check the PowerSchool accounts every day so that they don't fall behind. Because once a child falls behind 2 or 3 assignments, they get overwhelmed and they give up. So it's our job as parents to do our due diligence and make sure that we're on top of that and we're invested in our child's education. So I think they're playing games with the parents a little bit, some of our kids, and I'm able to log on and make a connection with the parent and say, well, this is exactly what's showing in PowerSchool, and this is the assignment that they said they submitted and completed, but they didn't. So we have to do a better job with holding our kids accountable, but also keeping a routine for them as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. So we can talk about resources, and Nancy, you're going to talk a little bit about the new grading guidelines and expectations for the school year. What can you share with us?
Sure. Yeah, it's interesting just listening to Marlo and Paulette. I mean, ultimately, we want every one of our youngest learners, all the way to our high school students, to be workforce ready, right? To be the resume on top of the pile, the young man or woman that's going to get the job before anyone else. And that starts at 3, right? It starts at 3 in terms of growing little ones to become independent. And this pandemic really threw us for a loop. Last March, April, May, and June, while I say we did our job, we are far better now in September and October as a staff to work in a virtual environment and offer our students multiple platforms and opportunities to learn and grow. And so first I just have to give a shout out to our staff here in New Britain. They are working incredibly hard every day. And for them, I mean, the learning curve was huge, starting in August and having to learn new platforms while engaging kids in front of them as well as at home. And I would say that, they're so much further into the race now than they were in September, but I don't want to minimize the hours that they are putting into creating and planning for rich instruction for your children. So shout out to all of them. My admin, support staff, and teachers doing a phenomenal job. And that brings us up the next point. Last March, April, May, again, none of us have ever experienced anything like this. And the State Department of Ed, while very helpful, we're all trying to figure out, well, what should attendance look like? And how do we grade our students? We've moved beyond that, right? And Tracy spoke to it a little bit as far as resources go. We have removed the barrier of resources. We had back in May and June over 1,000 families that were not connected. We are down to under 200. And even if they don't have internet, we have options available. So that's the one thing you have to know. If you are experiencing hardship there, you reach out to your building principal. If it's technology, if it's anything, the technology, we want to be sure you have access. All of our students have these new devices. So when we remove the barriers for our students and we have increased our capacity to teach in a virtual environment, then we have to look now to our students and say, so our expectations for you are this. And I know I sent out a very long email the other day. It's very long, and I tried to shorten it, but I couldn't, because I really wanted to communicate to you. We know that our students have what it takes to be an independent student, right? And they're all at different places in this journey, but we know we have high expectations, and our expectation is our young men and women, even down to our smallest babies, have what it takes to get on, get engaged, and be present every single day. But we're still seeing some residual from last March, April, May, and June. Students maybe logging on for a few minutes, and to James' point, not submitting quality work. And we are saying in New Britain, we know you can do better. We know you have what it takes to do better. And we want to be sure that you know that as the first marking term comes to a close and report cards go out, that we're going to be very honest with the grades on these report cards. because the reality of us being in this environment for an entire year is it, right? I anticipate in May, we're still going to be working in a similar model. We know that a vaccination is coming, but it's not coming tomorrow, and we certainly can't go back to what was, prior to last March 13th. So I wanted to give all of our families a heads up that our expectations for our students from September on, this is our school world this year. We talk about attendance, and while attendance is important, being engaged in the learning is equally important. Showing up is step one, being involved, being a part of a conversation, answering questions, being a part of small group, and not having to be chased to come online. That tells me that we have work to do, or as a family, you have work to do to make sure they have a space set up. We have daycare options available for all of our families. We've got Tracy at the Y, James at the Boys and Girls Club. We have our schools, our cafeterias where the YMCA is there in the event that you have difficult time with your student at home. So we really feel that we worked very hard to remove barriers for you. So our expectation is that our littlest to our oldest students are, when I look at how we're tracking attendance, they are virtual. If it's in virtual mode and it's on their days that they're home, they are logging on time, dressed for success, to Marlo's point, and ready to engage in this job of theirs before they're paid, right? Then we talk about their assignments and the submission of those assignments, not hitting submit just to appease a caregiver at home. Oh, I did it. And there's only one little letter on there and there wasn't really an assignment done. So we want you to know that as parent conferences come up, we're going to be pretty honest with you with your child's attendance and engagement in their learning this year.
Okay. Nancy, I know that both you and James mentioned Power School. If someone has trouble or doesn't know how to access Power School, who would they call? How would they find out how to do that?
They can email their child's teacher, and they'll email them a slip with their password and all that information on it. And actually, when I was mentioning that, I saw a parent scrolled and said, it's not their parents' job to teach, it's the teacher's job. So I just want to answer that real quick. That's our problem in the community, I believe, because I teach my children that I am your first teacher because I am with you more than your classroom teacher. And I think our parents need to understand that schools supplement what you're teaching at home. And I think we have to have our parents understand that we're supplementing their education.
Okay. I'm seeing some questions about childcare too, and I know that Care for Kids, which is a state subsidy program, will help parents pay for childcare if they're looking for jobs or they're working. Marlo, do you want to share more information about types of options that are available for parents around childcare?
Of course. There are home daycare provider options that have been approved by the Department of Public Health. Many licensed home daycare providers that have been added. Of course, we also have our center-based providers, which include HRA, the YW, the YM, the Boys and Girls Club, CCSU. So there are those options in the community. The challenges are, of course, that in order to keep the children safe, we have limited availability of those spots. So, I won't diminish the challenge that parents are facing right now in finding affordable quality childcare, but I will encourage them to continue to explore those options that are available to them. If you contact 211 info line, they're able to help connect you with what's available in the communities and with the community providers that can help you to enroll. Certainly here in New Britain, HRA is well known for the early childhood education programming that we offer in Head Start, school readiness, childcare. So of course, visiting our website and applying for the services there. But I do want to also comment on, because I see that parents are definitely discussing that their younger ones are having challenges with participating in online with regard to the remote learning. And so in our area, we provide services to children who are ages 0 to 5. And so the remote learning for us is beginning to shift because we understand that it's difficult to have your young child sit before the computer. So we're shifting in our mindset in terms of how the remote learning is happening. It's really more geared toward the parent when the child is younger. It's to build that relationship with the parent so that the parent can help their child and provide the proper experiences that could help their child develop. So like Mr. Jones said earlier, and I'm sorry, it's James, but I will always know you by Mr. Jones.
It's okay.
And so, because he had my children. And so, this is what happens. But as he said earlier, parents are definitely the first teachers of the children. But it's a partnership between the school system and the parents, between community providers and the parents. We need to meet each other halfway, and now we have to give extra because of what's happening with this pandemic. All of us are giving extra. So I don't want to diminish the efforts of the parents.
Right.
Just know that we do realize the challenges that you're facing with regard to juggling everything that you're juggling in addition to the pandemic issue. We're trying our best to offer the resources in the manner that you need. So, we're going to continue to adapt and adjust as the time passes. But this is something that has hit us all, and none of us experienced it before, So we've had to pivot and change everything that we do in order to provide the services. But hopefully we are able to provide something that is going to be looking back exactly what your children needed so that they continue to develop over this difficult period.
I know at the YWCA and HRA and the school district are all running school readiness programs. So it's based on a parent's income. It has a sliding fee scale. And I know we are piloting a virtual version of the program in the classroom so that children can tune in from home and work with a teacher virtually online as well for parents who might be a little concerned about sending their child into the preschool classroom. Paulette, before we move on to the next question, do you want to talk a little bit about middle school programming and programming for older kids in terms of supports that are going on in the community?
Well, we're encouraging the parents to follow the cohorts, and all of your after-school providers are offering after-school programs that's funded by American Savings. OIC runs Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays, and Fridays, and we're encouraging parents to contact us. We have openings, we're there. And it's so important because we've added a very important component, and that's the social, emotional learning and the mental health. Our young people, especially middle school youth, are having some struggles. And sometimes you can't talk to a parent. We're there for you. And I think it's so important that they know that the services are out there. Pathway Senderos has their after-school program. YWCA has theirs, the Boys and Girls Club, OIC, Paradigm, Britain Roots. So we're there, and we're working in a partnership. It doesn't matter which program they go to because we all use the A+ system. So if your child wants to go to the Boys and Girls Club for a week or a day, that's fine. We can track them. And that's important. We just want them to be healthy, to know that we're out there for them. And we want them to know that we couldn't make any of this possible without the school district that provides the busing for them to get there and to get them home. So we know that that's important, and we encouraging parents, if you don't know, please call me. I have all the partners' information, but I think it's so important, especially middle school youth. And I know that sometimes parents, you got to use them to watch the younger kids, and that's okay. But understand that middle school youth have needs too. And you as a parent are responsible to keep them engaged so that they can be turned on to school, turned on to what they need to know in order to be successful employees. Because the bottom line is all of us are going to work at some point.
Yeah.
Right.
Paulette and James, this is a nice segue, I think. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of staying engaged in school, not just for academic purposes, but also for the purposes of social, emotional well-being and development for kids?
Right. So I'll start off with the fact that we have to teach our kids to have some grit and to deal with adversity. This is a change for everyone, adults, for kids, but they also need a break. Like Paulette was saying, we have some middle school kids whose parents have to work. We get that, we understand that, but just as well as the parents need a break, those kids, when the parents come home, they need a break. They need a break from watching their siblings. They need to regroup, and they need to even be able to take a walk around the block or something. But a lot of the kids I talk to that are having troubles at home at a middle school and high school age, it's because they have a lot of responsibilities to help support our families in New Britain. And we get that, we understand that, but we also want to make sure that everyone understands that those kids need a break also. And at the high school level, these are the most important 4 years of their life. Then the next 4 years will determine their future for the rest of their life. And that's very important that they don't give up on themselves. And like I said earlier, once a kid is, 4 or 5 assignments behind, it just becomes like, I give up. I can't do this. I'm too far behind. And it's important that parents know it's okay to say to a teacher, hey, I'm sorry. We had a rough week at our house. We had a lot of stuff going on. Can you please give my child some extra time to get this assignment done? If the parent doesn't feel comfortable doing that, please have your child email your teacher. Guess what? We're all humans, and something's going to happen. Maybe your child has to take care of a grandparent or something, but we have to be able to work with each other to make sure our kids are taken care of just as much as the parents are too.
Okay, terrific. Paulette, did you have anything to add to that, or?
Yeah, and as a parent, and as a parent that had a child that went through the New Britain School District, I just want to let parents know, one of the things that we're working on, and parents may not know, is the school district and the community partners. We work together. So even if you have kids who are in elementary school, let us know. We can connect you to the services. So if you're in an after-school program for middle and high school, we can connect you with other things that's going on in the community. And sometimes I know we make flyers and we do all of this stuff, but sometimes the parents miss that. And if you can call us, we will explain to you how to leverage other services for your elementary student. If you yourself need some help, we can connect you to the services that's in the community. That's why it's so important for you to utilize us as community partners, because we have resources that you may or may not know about.
So
Right.
Go ahead, Jim.
I just want to add that we meet together on a Zoom meeting weekly, and we discuss what we can do for the community. All of us partners together several times a week. So please don't hesitate to engage, reach out, email. Our emails are available district-wide. I don't care if it's 2 a.m. We'll get back to you. If you have a thought, please reach out to us.
Okay. Terrific. And that's kind of a nice segue and to Marlo. Marlo, can you talk a little bit about the services and resources that HRA offers for families in New Britain?
Yes. So as I mentioned before, our services have been modified, right, to ensure that our customers are safe and the children that we serve are safe. And so the majority of the services that we're offering are being offered remotely, with the exception of the early childhood education services, the food distribution services, and soon to come, the volunteer income tax assistance services will be done in a hybrid model. So I did share a set of flyers that I hope will be able to be shared for people to download. But I just want to direct people to visit HRA's website, which is www.hrambct.org. We do have all of the information that I'm about to share posted on our website as well. If for some reason something that I mentioned, you don't have an opportunity to jot it down. But so I'll start briefly with our turkey distribution, which is happening on Monday, November 23rd. This is something that we have been doing for the community now for many years. And so, in fact, FoodShare, which is a fabulous partner in across all of our communities, has made HRA's food pantry at the New Britain Food and Resource Center, 460 Osgood Avenue, a turkey hub for turkey distribution this year. So if you're to contact the 211 info line and in need of a turkey in our area, they will designate a turkey for you to pick up at HRA of New Britain on Monday, November 23rd. So we are doing that distribution from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. at 460 Osgood Avenue. We also have a turkey distribution that will be first come, first serve, which is our normal turkey distribution that we offer to the community. So in order to partake in this, you would need to have your current state ID. And also stay in your vehicle, because that's how we modified the service at the food pantry. It's a drive up and grab and go service. So our staff and volunteers are able to provide that food and put it right into your trunk, and you just continue on your way. So we're not having any of our customers come on out of their vehicles in order to receive the food distribution. Food pantry on a regular basis is open twice a week, Wednesday and Friday, from 11 to 3 p.m. Same requirements apply in order to obtain food there. And so also our phone number at the food pantry is available on the website. If you call our food pantry, you'll be able to speak with our staff there, and so that you can access that resource. Energy assistance is something that if many of you are not aware of, it's a really great resource that's available to people. And this year in particular can be very helpful to families that have lost income. What energy assistance does is it provides you with a one-time payment to support your heating costs for your household. Those services are delivered out of 336 Arch Street in New Britain. And we actually have a 24/7 call line for setting appointments for that service. It's being done remotely with some drop-off for the paperwork at 336 Arch Street. The number for that service is 860-356-2000. So the segue from that is that same number is where you can contact at 860-356-2000. You can contact that same number to schedule an appointment to have your taxes done. And so this year, we will continue with our virtual VITA services, which is something that we implemented on the fly at the beginning of the pandemic. And actually, within a couple of months, we're able to successfully serve nearly 400 people with virtual VITA. I'd like to encourage you all to consider the use of that resource. It's free tax preparation for folks that earn under $57,000 annually. And what that does, of course, is put additional resources into your pocket. So if you're not paying to have your taxes done, and our volunteers are certified tax preparers by the IRS. So they have the training and certification in place to complete accurate returns. So please consider us and give us a call so that we can help you out with that resource. And finally, in the interest of time, I'm going to call out the community services case management that we offer. Our case managers are cross-trained, so they provide holistic services for families. So similar to what some of our partners mentioned before, Paulette was actually making the point about if you contact community partners, we're able to connect you and link you to other resources and services. That's exactly what our community services case managers do. And so if you were to contact them and to schedule an appointment, that's the same number that you would use, which is the 860-356-2000. You would be able to reach our case managers, and they might be able to help you with a myriad of issues.
Okay, thanks, Marlo. That's a lot of great information. Nancy, can you talk a little bit about remote learning? I'm also seeing a lot of questions about where parents can get resources if they're having trouble with their child's literacy skills. Where can they get the supports? Also, just in general, can you talk a little bit about the state's attendance initiative as it, some of the things that are going on with the school district?
Sure. First off, and please, I'm not minimizing that remote learning has got to be, as a grandparent myself with grandchildren, I'm watching my own sons and daughters try to struggle between working and helping their children, and it's incredibly difficult. But Marlo, I think you're right, or I think it was Marlo who said, everybody is experiencing that sort of, we've just been flipped, right? It's been flipped upside down, and we're all doing the very best we can. As far as reaching out, your first line is go directly to the building principal. If you've reached out to your teacher and you feel like maybe you're not connecting well, you can always reach out to your building principal. I'm always available too. It's not always great when I get them, because then everyone panics that I went right to the superintendent, but I never mind getting emails. I saw that Matt put in the chat. There's a couple of people that just reach out, will help. It's kind of cliche. Everyone says, we're all in this together, but we really are. And there are barriers, and we want to make sure that we're supporting you to make your child's experience the best experience it can be in a pandemic year. So anyway, as far as, I can't remember the second part of the question, Trace. Oh, you were asking about
the attendance.
Right. So, we have been working with the State Department of Education. It's really hard to say what attendance is, right? So our kids are in a hybrid model. Some of our kids are going 4 days a week, but most are going in either A or B cohort. And attendance is 5 days. I mean, Monday through Friday, your students are in school. It just looks different. When they're in person, we know what that looks like. That's our typical. But when they're home, at this point, the state is saying what we call synchronous learning. Synchronous learning means the teacher is teaching and your child is interacting with the teacher. Asynchronous means the lesson has been recorded in advance. The student has to do something with the information. It's usually an assignment of sorts. And I did see one of the parents say, we have a Google Meet, and then they have to jump off. Usually when they jump off, we want to be cognizant of screen time and giving kids a break with their eyes. But they have things that they can be working on. For our youngest learners, you're right. Some of it's got to be interacting with the adult in the house. Or if they're in a remote learning environment like the YWCA, it's working with the adult who is there. But what we say attendance equal is even on the days when they're in remote learning. So some of our kids are in remote learning Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Some are in Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. On the days that they're remote, they're expected to log in first thing in the morning when the school day starts. Do we know that there are exceptions and there are going to be times when kids are late? Definitely. We experience that in non-pandemic times. But the default should be, and when we talk about wellness and making sure that our students are managing this difficult time, routine is the most important thing for our kids. And even for us as adults, we're struggling because our routines have been upended as well. And so what we're providing them is with routine. It's a new routine for sure, but they need to engage first thing. They need to be present. They need to make sure that they are engaging in their lessons while they're online, that they're handing in a quality assignment. The state is defining a student is in attendance when for at least 50% of that school day. So that's at least 3 hours. We see active engagement of that student with their lessons and what they're completing, with their engagement during class time and responding to teacher questions or teacher prompts, interacting with others online. We have got some really great platforms. One of them is called Securely, where we're able to see what the student is working on all throughout the day, right? And so we know if a student is saying to you, oh yeah, I'm doing my work, but we can tell, and the teacher can chat with them to say, Fortnite's not during the school day. That's going to be something that you do after hours. So we do have the tools. It's just, again, I want to stress that last year from March to June, it was a different time. We didn't have the tools that we have now. We didn't have the guidance from the State Department of Education that we have today. So attendance now means, I'll coin, one of my administrators says, in a meet or in their seat. Our students have to be present every single day, 5 days a week, or for every day that they are present and engaging, they are considered in attendance, virtual or in person.
And Nance, can you, I see some questions about the expectations for Wednesdays and the virtual days and what students are expected to do on Wednesdays and lessons.
Sure. So interestingly, I just met with all of the building leaders today. Several weeks ago, I do get feedback from families and from teachers to say that Wednesday in many districts, and again, so the one thing the State Department of Ed said was develop a plan. But there's 169 towns and all of us are doing something a little bit different. And originally we talked about Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday being, teachers are in, they're on, and they're working with kids 5 days a week. That's going to stay. But for Wednesdays now, we're going to, and you'll be receiving a letter from your building principal about this. It's going to be more small group instruction because we notice that some students are struggling to keep up. And so we want to be able to provide a time on Wednesdays where kids will be doing asynchronous learning. And that means it's going to be a pre-recorded lesson, probably around math and reading, and pulling a lot of our kids into small groups throughout that day. Also reaching out to families to see why, if they're struggling and what the struggle is. So we can provide support for you. We want to make Wednesdays more focused on individual and group, small groups, to catch our students up who are finding some difficulties with this virtual learning environment. So that's what Wednesdays will be. That's what they are in many of our schools now. We just want to make sure that all of our students in New Britain have an opportunity to have a day where they can breathe a little bit, catch up a little bit, do their work, do their tutorials if they're in kindergarten through 8th grade on their iReady platform, which is a system that is tailored just to your child in terms of what their math and their reading levels are. And the lessons are all tailored individually in the iReady platform. So that'll be a part of Wednesdays for our K through 8 learners. Also, you'll be having some pre-recorded lessons, maybe in PE, in STEAM, or in art or music. This way, we're allowing our families to know that that's a day of almost catch up. Now, here's the thing. They have to be in attendance. You can't say, well, my child's already caught up. There will always be small group work for them. And if they're already on grade level, we're going to push them beyond grade level, right? That's what we do. So our teachers will be engaging in those small group activities. And really, we're going to go live. You should be getting a letter from your building principals within the next 2 weeks. We just met today to discuss this. And we think that it's a nice tweak to our current schedule that will give our littlest and even our older kids more time to catch up and get the support they need one-on-one from their teachers.
So one of the questions here is, can a student request extra work?
Absolutely. Why would we say
Absolutely.
no to that?
Yeah.
Yes, they can.
And I see a question, it looks like a teacher asking about resources when she's trying to juggle the care of elderly parents and try and stay safe. I know there are some resources on the governor's website related to COVID, on the Office of Early Childhood website related to COVID. I'm not sure if anyone else has any ideas for resources in terms of COVID and staying safe and protecting your family.
So for the elderly services piece, there's definitely the home care, the home delivered meals, and there's Juniper House in New Britain. They're doing a fantastic job providing services for the elderly in our community throughout this pandemic period. So, I would look into services at Juniper House to see if there's adult daycare or adult day activities available. They offer transportation for your senior as well. So sometimes it's engaging them in other activities that can help you to balance a little bit more. These are safe activities. They have instituted all of the necessary protocols. And so, I would recommend that you look into that resource and see if there's an opportunity there for you.
Okay.
Can we put that
And the
information?
senior center,
Oh, sorry. I just think we could put that information for Juniper House in the chat. That would be really helpful. That way families can have that.
Okay. All right. So we're getting down to the last about 10 minutes, and I want to make sure that if there are some closing remarks that folks might have, are there anything, James or Paulette or Marlo, that you would like to share with families before we close out?
Well, I would just say that we're all in this together. And I just want all of our parents to know that last year when we shut down in March, my kids taught me how to do Google Docs and Google Meets and Google Classroom. So, I mean, it's new to all of us, but I learned from my own kids. So trust me, they know the process. Most of them, middle school age, high school age, elementary. If you have someone, neighbor or family member, they probably can help you navigate also. You just have to reach out and ask for help. And if we also have the help desk, if you guys have any questions that you need answered to with any technology.
So help desk, how does a parent access that, James?
So if they go to help@csdnb.org, they can get assistance. Someone had popped up and asked about lunches. We do have breakfast, lunch, and meals for days that kids don't have school that can be picked up at all our sites.
Can I jump in just for a second too?
Sure.
I just met today. I know that the one thing we're trying, I heard from some of my high school students, not enough foodness, and it's really not good food. So I want you to know we're on it. We're working on it. Hot lunches will be coming back to our middle and our high schools. And we just met today to figure out how we can get hot lunches back to our elementary school. So more to come on that one. But we recognize, right? Some of the grab and goes aren't always the best grab and goes. We are working on it, but we're in line with many other school districts that are looking for that same food. But I want you to know we're on it, and that we are talking, and the hot meals will be returning especially for our grades 6 through 12. And we're not forgetting about our babies. We're working on that too. It might just take a little bit longer with that.
And let's give Whitson's a shout out because they do a fantastic job for us.
Mm-hmm.
They do. I mean, they really are. We are serving over 650 families door to door. I mean, if there's a hardship, we make sure that we get out there and make sure that our families have the food that they need. But I do feel for our high school students who look at the 4 chicken nuggets and go, that's just not enough,
That's true. Paulette and Marlo, are there any other things that you both would like to share?
You go ahead, Paulette.
I just want to let the parents know that we're in this together. It's not a miracle. The school district, community partners, it's a 3-way street. Parents, the school district, the community partners, and parents, we need you. And we're here. Ask us anything. We will assist you, but you also got to have some accountability. Wake your young person up before you go to work. Make sure that they're signing on. Make sure that they know that there's after-school programs and Saturday programs. We run some Saturday programming. We just want us all to be safe and well and know that we will get through this. But you got to be there for us too, parents. It's your responsibility and duty. This is a three-way partnership, not community partners, not the school district, the parents, the students. We're there for you. And I've been around a long time, 36 years. Just like I said, I probably have a lot of y'all in my program. So let's make this a we thing and not a thing. And James is one of mine, and Marlo too.
Yep.
Yes. So I agree 100% with what everyone's final thoughts are. So I'm going to take my final thoughts in a little bit of a different direction. And I'm just going to call out to everyone on the importance of self-care during this time period. Take care of your spirit, mind, and body. There's so much happening out there that is bombarding you, in addition to what you're balancing with your child and balancing at work and balancing with family and interactions with other people that are strangers, and just, trying to do the best for yourself and your family. So remember to take a moment and pause and take care of yourself throughout this process. It's critically important. If you're not taking care of yourself, you can't take care of others.
Bingo.
Yep.
I agree, Marlo.
Well put.
I 100% agree. I think as adults, sometimes we put ourselves last all the time. What I hope for me, my final thoughts are that you see a community of New Britain that truly cares about your children. We really do. I mean, between the school and all of our partners and you. And so when we have to teach our youngest learners to our oldest learners an attitude of gratitude, right? If you are working hard for them, they need to give that back to you. That's a part of growing, right? And our kids will be down sometimes and say, well, you're not helping me. And there isn't one person in New Britain, there's a ton of us, that will come out and go to bat for your kid. They have to take it up. It's not always on you too, parents, right? Middle school, that's when the grade goes on your head. And I know that it's hard ages, but we have to teach them that there are people who care. And when people care, you owe it back. And you owe it back by doing what's right, even when your parent's trying to do work, right? When no one's looking. That builds that character that we're looking for, and that you want. And that's where we partner with you, because we want it as much as you want it.
So I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I think we've answered all the questions that I see in the chat, and I want to thank Nancy, but also Marlo Grappone, James Jones, and Paulette Fox, who are longtime and wonderful resources. Their agencies are wonderful resources to parents, as well as the YWCA, my own organization. We are all here for you. And I want to reach out to parents and say, please contact any one of us and our organizations if you need assistance, and we'll work with you to help you navigate some of the issues that are going on. So thank you, everybody, and we're going to give you back about 5 minutes in your evening, which doesn't happen too often. So
thank you for being such a great
Tracy.
And if this is something you'd like us to continue, if there are more questions, let us know. We are happy to come back on. We actually work very well together, in person and virtually. So we are all here for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.